This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
Cafeterias that are silent and you only see heads looking down, they're going to be alive again.
This is not just about saying we have some obscure rule that we want them to comply with, that truck drivers speak English. This is about keeping people safe on the road.
Today, we celebrate making hunting more accessible.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Scroll-free scholars. New York's new bell-to-bell smartphone ban takes effect next week. Niagara Falls Superintendent Mark Laurie says it's long overdue.
This is coming. You need to adjust to this. We're going to help you. We're going to work with you. But at the end, this is the right thing to do.
Governor Hochul says the ban will change school culture.
All of a sudden, cafeterias that are silent and you only see heads looking down, they're going to be alive again.
The distraction-free schools law was adopted last spring as part of the state budget negotiations. It'll kick in next week when students head back to the classroom. President Trump wrapped up his 7th cabinet meeting today in what he calls America's safest city, Washington, D.C. Trump making major progress on the crime there 2 weeks after deploying the National Guard to clean up the capital city. D.C. residents say they like what the president is doing.
I'm glad they're cracking down on crime. That's all I can say.
I feel a lot safer, so I'm actually really happy.
I feel like the nation's finally becoming safe again. He has our backs and he's protecting us.
I think extra security is always a good thing. I mean, if you got crime, you need police, you need extra protection out there. I don't have a problem with it.
Attorney General Pam Bondi announced this morning nearly 2,000 arrests in D.C. and 115 illegal guns seized. Federal officials arrested 87 individuals last night alone. Trump said today he wants to seek the death penalty in D.C. for murders. Trump signaled yesterday he may expand his federal crackdown to more cities, calling out Chicago.
Chicago's a killing field right now, and they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need them. We may wait. We may or may not. We may just go in and do it.
Last weekend alone in Chicago, 6 people were killed and 27 hurt. Fox News asked New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew if he should go in with or without Chicago's consent.
I wish you would go in, and I'm going to tell you why. We're Americans. In America, all of us should be able to walk around and be free and safe in any city in this great country.
He says lower crime should be everyone's goal.
They're indicting less, they're convicting less, they're releasing people more, they're not charging them, they're doing anything they can. The police are doing their job, but then you have the left-wing judges, the left-wing administrations, the left-wing prosecutors on the ultra-left. And you know what I don't get most of all? Whatever political designation you are, why would you want your city to be unsafe?
3 states could lose their federal funding if their truck drivers don't learn to speak English proficiently. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy today.
This is not just about saying we have some obscure rule that we want them to comply with, that truck drivers speak English proficiently. This is about keeping people safe on the road.
Duffy says if you can't speak English, you can't read road signs. He says law enforcement pulls truckers over and issues citations, and then they go right back behind the wheel.
And what do? Nothing. They turn them loose, put them back on the road.
California, New Mexico, and Washington state in the danger zone of losing federal aid for not enforcing English language proficiency laws for truck drivers. Day into night, there was a haboob in Arizona yesterday. That's a massive sandstorm.
Monster haboob coming into Sky Harbor. That is absolutely insane.
This woman and her kids waited it out in their minivan.
We are in the middle of a haboob and can't see anything. I think there's a car behind us. Yeah. Okay, I can see the house on the corner here. Yes. Should I try it?
Yes, I think we should.
Okay, I'm going to try to get home.
The winds knocked out power and caused travel chaos. False active shooting reports are popping up at universities across the nation. Active shooter alerts have been sent out to students at schools like the University of Arkansas, University of Colorado Boulder, Iowa State University, and Kansas State University. Police have said most cases were hoaxes that saw someone use a temporary phone number and apps to mask their voice and cause a panic. Australia is accusing Iran of directing 2 anti-Semitic arson attacks in the cities of Sydney and Melbourne and has given Tehran's ambassador 7 days to leave the country. Australia's Prime Minister.
We've made this decision because Iran's actions are completely unacceptable.
It was Australia's first such expulsion since World War II. And motorists will be on the move for the upcoming Labor Day weekend. With summer's last hurrah on the horizon, millions of us will be taking to the byways and the skyways. Correspondent Maggie Vespa says this Labor Day will cap off the busiest summer travel season in more than a decade.
For road trippers, there's more good news. Gas prices remain low, matching the summer average from 2021.
AAA says the national average for a gallon of regular unleaded will be about 35 cents lower than last year and should remain relatively low for the rest of the summer. Still to come in the 5 o'clock report, more details on the lifting of Pennsylvania's Sunday hunting ban and a legal setback for Andrew Cuomo. But weather first.
This is meteorologist Ken McKinley with our Family Life forecast. A couple of scattered showers remaining possible for a while this evening. They may persist through the overnight hours in areas north of the Thruway in central New York, but otherwise partly cloudy skies developing overnight and rather cool temperatures as many areas will dip into the 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies will prevail through the day. Temperatures will be a bit warmer, likely getting into the 70s in most locations. Another cool night tomorrow night. A cold front approaching from the northwest on Thursday will bring some showers and thunder showers to portions of the region by later in the afternoon, mainly over western and central New York. The rest of the area will likely see a shower and thunder shower activity spreading in through the evening hours on Thursday and perhaps persisting overnight in some locations.
Thank you, Ken. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. We got more details today on changes to Pennsylvania's Sunday hunting ban. The PA Department of Conservation and Natural Resources held a press conference.
Today, we celebrate making hunting more accessible for anybody who wants to pick up this pastime that is so deeply ingrained and embedded in the fabric of our culture in this Commonwealth.
We are restoring freedom to hunters who want to ethically provide food for their families, but desperately need one more day because they're raising kids or they're working.
Earlier this year, Governor Josh Shapiro signed a bill repealing the state's centuries-long Sunday hunting ban. The Game Commission is allowing hunting in 2025 on 3 Sundays in September, 4 Sundays in October, 5 Sundays in November, and 1 Sunday in December. But today, it was announced that Sunday hunting in Pennsylvania state parks will be limited to 3 days, November 16th, 23rd, and 30th. It's a legal setback for former New York Governor and current New York City mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo. Family Life's Mark Webster has an update.
Yeah, State Supreme Court Justice Denise Hartman has rejected what she calls Cuomo's attempt to resurrect his public image by rejecting his efforts to litigate a case in which a former aide accused him of groping her at the governor's mansion in 2020. She recently agreed to a $450,000 state settlement, but despite that, Cuomo wants the case to continue, saying unseen text messages contradict Brittany Commisso's version of what happened. But her attorney says if that were true, the state wouldn't have settled, calling Cuomo's ongoing litigation efforts yet another tantrum. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
No budget, no pay. A Pennsylvania politician is sponsoring a bill to suspend the pay of the governor and state lawmakers in the midst of a 2-month-long late state budget impasse.
It's disheartening. Here we are 55, 56 days later, and we don't have a budget. And people are complacent about it.
Democrat Jim Haddock of Luzerne County says to break the complacency, he's sponsoring bipartisan legislation to suspend the pay of lawmakers, the governor and lieutenant governor, if the budget is not done.
And then once it's signed by the governor, we would get our back pay. So we wouldn't lose any money, but we would feel the pain of not getting paid.
The latest state budget in Commonwealth history came in 2017 under former Governor Tom Wolf. That spending plan was adopted 9 months past the due date. Over a dozen people remain hospitalized following a tour bus crash 5 days ago on the New York State Thruway. The bus rolled over in Pembroke Friday afternoon while on its way to New York City from Niagara Falls. 5 passengers were killed. Many victims were ejected from the bus. Marine Corps Reservist Aiden Jerome helped rescue a woman who is pinned beneath the bus for several hours.
It was so relieving seeing her finally get pulled out from underneath of there and taken over to the Mercy flight. It was super relieving. And there was a part of me that was like, wow, I feel really accomplished, but it wasn't over, right? There was still people that were trapped. There was still a lot to get done.
Authorities are focusing on whether the driver was distracted and if that factored at all in the accident. Next at 5, a conversation with tech expert Brad Huddleston on his efforts to wean people off of social media. Let's listen in.
I just want to start today, Brad, by asking you, when it comes to social media, how bad is it in terms of hours a day we are spending staring at screens?
Well, the numbers on that vary by country. By far, the worst country for that is South Africa. They're logging somewhere between 11 and 12 hours a day staring at screens. That would include social media and other activities. Here in America, it's right around 7 hours and 30 minutes. Teenagers, of course, spending about that much time. Parents, a little bit less. Australia, where I spend quite a bit of my time, they're the same. They're way up there as well. So for my dissertation, what I would like to do is do a pilot study in New York, do a case study in Australia, and take that data, see what emerges, and then create a global curriculum to help people detox. And so out of this data that emerges, and of course with a biblical worldview, the end game is to create this curriculum. So we're finally seeing, Bob, the needle move. It's been a long slog. I've been writing and speaking about this since about 2010 or 11.
Yeah.
And we're just now starting to see it's getting so bad around the world with this mental health crisis, a global mental health crisis brought on by all the digital saturation.
Yeah. When you talk about a digital detox, you're pretty adamant that you got to go cold turkey here. It's not a question of, okay, just in moderation. Why won't that approach work when it comes to social media addiction?
Well, when you talk about digital addiction, you're talking about dopamine levels on par with heroin and cocaine. Now, that's literal. That's medical. That's why these devices are so addictive. So when you talk about a detox, a parent, and they often do this, and Bob, these are not evil parents. These are well-meaning parents. They're rational. They're loving. They, for years, have said this: if you will behave yourself to their children during the week, do your chores, do your assignments, homework, and all of that, on Saturday, I'll give you, 3 hours of whatever you want to do on your screen. Not anything immoral, but your video games and so forth, Minecraft and that. But from a medical perspective, what I have to gently tell them is that cocaine is bad on Saturday, just like it is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so they're well-meaning, and they're trying to be loving and fair and limit and balance and all of that. But it just doesn't work because of the medical reasons of too much dopamine. So what we're about with the detox, you have to do exactly what a cocaine or a heroin addict would do. You can't limit your heroin use. You have to cut it off. Cold turkey, you're just going to have to lop it off, and then you have to go for an extended period of time. 4 to 6 weeks is what the data shows will, for the most part, handle the withdrawal symptoms, and then you have to develop new habits.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share this feature and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
Do you have any sinking funds? Hi, I'm Rob West with the Faith and Finance Minute. No, I'm not talking about stock market losses. A sinking fund is a simple, intentional way to save for upcoming expenses. Take Christmas, for example. Instead of scrambling in December or relying on credit, try setting aside $100 a month in a separate account. Do that starting at the beginning of the year, and you'll have $1,200 ready to go without the stress. As you make purchases, the balance will sink, but that's the point. You're spending from a place of peace, not panic. Sinking funds also work for vacations, car repairs, insurance premiums, or any non-monthly expense that tends to sneak up on you. It's a small habit with a big impact and another way to be a wise steward of what God provides. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, what would you do if your spouse lost their wedding ring? How far would you take the search? We've got one man's story after one last look at weather.
This is meteorologist Ken McKinley with our Family Life forecast. A couple of scattered showers remaining possible for a while this evening. They may persist through the overnight hours in areas north of the Thruway in central New York, but otherwise partly cloudy skies developing overnight and rather cool temperatures, as many areas will dip into the 40s by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, partly sunny skies will prevail through the day. Temperatures will be a bit warmer, likely getting into the 70s in most locations. Another cool night tomorrow night. A cold front approaching from the northwest on Thursday will bring some showers and thunder showers to portions of the region by later in the afternoon, mainly over western and central New York. The rest of the area will likely see a shower and thunder shower activity spreading in through the evening hours on Thursday and perhaps persisting overnight in some locations.
All right, Ken, finally at 5, a Canadian woman was down in the dumps over losing her wedding rings, but her loving husband went to the dump to make things right. Janine Van Eiseldijk's ring slipped off unnoticed on a date night with her husband of 26 years, Steve. They eventually figured out they slipped off at a restaurant, but by then, those rings were likely in the restaurant's compost bin, which had already been sent to the dump. That's when Steve tells CTV he rolled up his sleeves.
I said I'd go to the dump in the morning and asked them if I could go through the compost pile.
He said, let me try. I said, okay.
Landfill contractor Denny Webster helped as best as he could, though.
My brain was trying to figure out a way to tell him to go buy his wife new wedding rings.
Miraculously, after a couple of hours of rooting through the steamy, smelly compost, the sweet smell of success.
And it was all slimy with popcorn and butter.
Steve called his wife and told her the good news.
She basically broke down crying.
Well, yes, because I know how much he loves me, that he's willing to go through a rotten, stinky compost pile. It's not the money. It's the sentimental value.
It's the money.
That is love. And that's the world that we live in for Tuesday, the 26th of August. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.